This is Sky Blues Extra.
Hello and welcome to Sky Blues Extra. We're here today for a fixture list special. We're going to look through the fixtures that were launched from the EFL on Friday morning. They look quite tough for the Sky Blues, so we're going to go through them. I'm joined by Dean. How are you doing, Dean?
Yeah, good, Dave. How are you?
Yeah, very well. And as we said, the championship fixtures were launched on Friday morning. We reached out to our Twitter users as well to see what they thought was going to be their toughest, the games that they were looking forward to and games they were least looking forward to, with Wickham on that list quite frequently. But we're going to kick off, I think, just to look through the fixture list itself. Move through and see through month by month, Dean, about what fixtures we've got coming up. And there's some in there that's real chock-a-block, December especially.
Absolutely. Exciting time, obviously, always when the fixture list comes out. You're looking for the sort of teams that you like going to visit, the ground you want to go to, the teams that you think you're going to beat. But yeah, the Championship this year is a tough league. It's a step up from League One, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. In September, we kick off the season at Bristol City away. Of course, unfortunately, Sky Blues fans not able to go to that game, which would have been, a great momentum occasion. Really, it would have been really nice to have been able to take the Sky Blue Army to Bristol City, reminiscing of the FA Cup draw that we had there in the FA Cup, and we took a really big crowd. That's a long time ago, but sadly the fans won't be in attendance, but the players will. Dean, thoughts?
Yeah, well, you say we can't go, but we don't have that great of a record at Ashton Gate, to be honest. But we do have a fairly healthy record overall versus Bristol. And there was a memorable win in 2013. I don't know if you can remember that. We were 3-0 up, went 3-3. Wilson made it 4-3. Then it was 4-4, and then Billy Daniels got a late winner. So, yeah, there's been some memorable games. Bristol, they finished 12th last year. Got a brand new manager now in Dean Holden. He was assistant coach under Lee Johnson. But they're a quality championship side. You know, they've got some really, really decent players. Andreas Wyman, Jay De Silva, Naki Wells is there, of course. So it's going to be tough. And of course, Liam Walsh is part of that team now. We don't know for how long for. There's rumours go around. He's back on the transfer block again. So it's a possibility he could be making his way out of Bristol. But that is a tough opening day fixture.
It is. And then moving on to that, we play Kings Park Rangers, of course, the first team that we played at the Rico. We were successful that day, but how do you think that this one will go?
You just never know what kind of QPR team are going to turn up, really.
No.
They're such a strange side, you know. They've got no real standout players either. I mean, they sound George Thomas, but they're more of a team unit rather than individual players. I think they'll struggle this year, personally. They're such a strange side. You just don't know how they're going to perform. They probably overperformed last year, if anything.
Yeah, of course. And Barnsley away, always a tough fixture with or without a crowd. But that also looks like a bit of a tough one. Maybe the game that you'd be looking at from September thinking we could probably pick up something.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think we'll probably pick up 3 points versus QPR, to be honest. They're not good travellers. But for Barnsley, they were very, very lucky to stay up. Two late winners in the last two games effectively saw them stay up, and obviously the demise of Wigan with their points deduction. So, they're going to be in and around us around the bottom of the table this season. So, that's something we've got to look at and say, potentially let's pick up 3 points there. We've got a good record versus Barnsley. I know we haven't won at Oakwell in our last 3 visits, but as a team, Barnsley is one we should be looking to beat for sure.
And then moving into October, it's where you can see the relentlessness of the Championship fixture list. Of course, kicking off with Bournemouth, Brentford away would have been a lovely fixture to have gone to have them, moving from Griffin Park last year to their new stadium. And I'm sure there was a lot of Sky Blues fans that are looking to complete their 92, if you like. And that would have been a fixture of one that they'd be looking out for at the start of the season. Swansea, Blackburn Rovers, Middlesbrough, and finally Reading at home. It looks a tough month as well, doesn't it?
It is a really, really tough one. I mean, you look at Bournemouth and Brentford and potentially Swansea. They're the sort of teams that are going to be battling towards the top end of the table, especially Bournemouth, coming down from the Premier League. I know, obviously, they've got a new manager now. Jason Tyndall was the former assistant there, so he knows the club well. That's going to stand them in really, really good stead. But Bournemouth we haven't played them. We've only played
No.
them twice since 1988,
Yeah.
and we've won both times. But obviously, it's a different kettle of fish in the Championship. And who's to say they're not going to lose a load more players? Apparently they've got lots of money to still pay out for transfers, so
Yeah,
they're
of
going to have to
course.
balance the books some way. So is the likes of Callum Wilson going to be sold before we play them in October? Potentially, that's something to look at. And Brentford, yeah, like you say, moving from Griffin Park, what a fantastic opportunity that would be to go to one of the new stadiums. I live quite close to Brentford as well, so I've seen that stadium be built from the ground up, and
Yeah, of
it's looking
course.
absolutely fantastic. And they lost obviously in the playoff final, so they're going to be a tough side. But for me, Brentford, if they keep Watkins, if they keep Benrahma, if they keep Mbrenna, they've got a really, really good chance at going up again. And we've got but really, really bad form versus Brentford as well. No win in the last 5.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, and yeah, as you said, Brentford across the playoffs and that recently happened, they looked, they looked really dangerous, didn't they, when they were attacking, and I think quite unlucky really to not have been promoted. Middlesbrough, Dean, is a fixture away. I think again we played them in the FA Cup in a replay. We took a big crowd that night. That's going back some time now, and we weren't successful that evening. That looks again another difficult fixture on the road.
Yeah, I've been to Middlesbrough quite a few times, and I can't ever remember coming away from there with a victory, to be honest. I do remember, I think there was an FA Cup match we went up there, Marcus Hall hit the post or hit the bar from about 30 yards away, which was incredible scenes if I got in. But yeah, I mean, overall, we don't have a great record with Middlesbrough. But they didn't do particularly well last season. They struggled for the majority of the season. I watched quite a few Middlesbrough games last season, and they really, really struggled. They've only made one signing so far, too,
Yeah,
in Grant Hall, but it's the Neil Warnock factor, isn't it?
yeah.
Um, he probably gets you an extra 12 to 15 points a season just having him in the dugout. So that's going to be really tough. And then following that, Reading. Just look at that Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday.
Relentless.
It's going to be so tough. I mean, we need a big squad. That's the only way. And you're going to probably look at some of the academy lads are going to get a look in some of these games as well.
For sure.
But Reading, I mean, they're such a weird championship side,
Yeah.
So they have quite a decent squad.
Yeah.
So they'll be looking to do much better this season for sure. We haven't beat them in 10 attempts as well, so that's going to be something to look at.
Yeah, they're a team, haven't they, that have been sort of up there and expected to sort of, gain that Premiership status. And then, like you say, wasn't so great last season, but you never really know what sort of season Reading are going to have.
Yeah, they're very much in the same mould as QPR. You just don't know what Reading side are going to turn up. One day they could be world beaters. The next they look like they could be played in League Two. It's just one of those things. But yeah, that potentially is one for me that we'll be looking to pick up points on for sure.
And we'll speed through now to the next months of Championship fixtures. And of course, November, again, we've got the landlords smack bang in the middle of those fixture lists. Watford, Forest. I mean, the Championship, and I think everyone would have said this, but it just doesn't start to get any easier, does it, really, when you look at this? Birmingham, we put up a great fight across 2 legs in the cup matches that we played in the season just gone, in the title win in the season. And I think actually on the face of it, we deserved it across those 2 legs. You could see some points being picked up there, but November does look, again, very difficult.
Other than Birmingham, I don't see us picking up any points in the other 4, to be honest.
It really is tough.
They're for those teams, all 4 of those teams, I think Norwich should win the league quite comfortably, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Unless they go mad and sell Cantwell, Aarons, Godfrey, I don't think they're going to sell all 3. And I've also got McCallum in there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're going to. They're just going to win the league at a canter for me.
Do you think McCallum will feature much for the Canaries?
It depends, doesn't it, on the Aaron situation.
Yeah,
If
of
he
course.
goes, then potentially he's there to replace him, isn't he? But other than that, he might not get a look in early part of the season. They're going to want to keep the same sort of squad together, aren't they? That was in the Premier League, the same sort of team. And Daniel Farke's a fantastic manager.
Yeah,
He
of
sets up
course.
his team so well. And I wouldn't say them getting relegated from the Premier League was much fault of his really.
Mm.
They just wouldn't spend any money from the board. So that's what you have to do to stay in the Premier League. You've got to spend some money, and that's why they came down.
And many supporters will always look at December as a time where it can decide a season. It sounds silly to say that, but if you're there or thereabouts in December, you usually have an idea of where you might finish up towards the end of the season. It looks a little friendlier in fixtures, but in terms of sheer amount and volume, it's just another crazy month, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean we come from probably one of the worst periods of November to an easier period for sure
Yeah,
with the teams we're facing. But Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday,
that's got
Saturday,
death.
Tuesday. That's 8 matches,
Yeah,
and potentially there might be some cup matches. I'm
of
not sure
course.
when the cup schedule
Yeah,
is coming out. The FA Cup might be coming forward from what I've been told. So
yeah,
um, that's something to look at. So obviously all the fixtures are subject to change, but you look at that period there. I mean, there's three games there that might define the rest of the season. Rotherham, Luton, Wickham. It's those are three matches we have to pick up as close to 9 points as we can.
yeah, completely agreed. And we move into the new year, Dean, and that is a month really that I'm hoping personally there's some grounds there that I'd like to tick off. At the top of January, and also Mill would be great. It's just one that I've never personally done myself, but that looks a month where possibly things could happen for the Sky Blues. Mill again last season were unlucky. They sort of had a late charge, didn't they, in the
Yeah,
championship, and only sort of narrowly missed out on points. If they could have just picked up a few more, but they were really flying home as a team.
but they don't really have any standout players as well. They're,
Of
they're,
course.
they're just a strong unit that grind out results, and they score goals from pretty much all over the pitch. So, but for me, I don't expect them to hit the same heights as they did this season. Um, I just think overall it's probably a more stronger league.
Yeah,
The teams that are in the championship are probably more closer together in regards to ability.
yeah,
Other than Norwich, I would say maybe they're far and away probably the best team in the division. But from everybody else's point of view, there's a much lower skill gap,
yeah.
um, as opposed to last season where there was three teams where they were head and shoulders really above everybody else, and Brentford you could add into that to make it four. Um, but yeah, Millwall, it's a really good place to go. There's a fantastic atmosphere. We won there in 2015, 4-0, brilliant performance. That
Yeah,
amazing goal by Armstrong, and
yeah,
that set
remember
us
it
up for
well.
a fantastic start of the season. But yeah, that's somewhere I'll be looking to pick up points. But as you say, January, it's quite easy on the eye really. I only really think Forest is the hardest game there, and we're
Yeah,
at home.
yeah, of course. Yeah, but February in comparison, it looks very similar to that November um, month, Dean, with Brentford, Norwich, Cardiff, who again were unlucky, weren't they?
Yeah,
The last season gone, and even Blackburn, Swansea as well in there. That looks again a really defining month.
it's one of those months where we're just gonna have to grind and grind and grind. If we get something from any of those matches, we'll be in a good place. Cardiff, yeah, that's a tough place to go. We're awful record in Cardiff. One win in the last 12 versus Cardiff, so kind of a bogey team for us. Home to Brentford, Brentford don't really travel that well. They don't pick up many wins. They do grind out draws away from home, so maybe one to look at there. And Blackburn away as well. That's for me. That's a big game in that month.
Yeah,
Got Tony Mowbray, Adam Armstrong, the sort of Coventry factor in there, and probably as a team they probably haven't hit the heights really that they've been expecting.
expected. Yeah,
They've made no signings this summer so far as well. Um, and I was looking at the history between the two clubs. It's quite extraordinary, really. We haven't faced them in a league match since 1999.
Incredible.
There's just 4 cup games since then, and obviously that memorable 4-1 win with Didi Adebola's fantastic run in
It was
2008.
a very memorable fixture, and we start to approach the end of the season now, where things could be getting a little bit worrying, depending on how many points we've picked up. And March is shorter in volume of fixtures, but again, there's some teams in there that we really need to have a good month with Rotherham, Luton, Wickham, and even Middlesbrough at home. Perhaps Derby looks a tough fixture as always, but with some really good home games and some fixtures that we've previously played well in the season just gone, bar Rotherham.
Yeah,
You could
just about to
see
say we didn't travel well to Rotherham last season, did
you
we?
could see you could see us picking up some points.
Yeah, it's that fixture reversal from December. Derby, Rotherham, Luton, Wickham back in a row again. So those are 4 games we'll probably need to pick up as close to maximum points or as near as we can, really, to see us in good stead towards the end of the season. But we've got to. It's one of those where we just need to pick up points gradually. And we're not. I mean, we can get it out of our heads now, but we're not going to go on a run like we did last season.
No, of course.
10 games undefeated,
Yeah.
winning 7, winning 8 of those. That's just not going to happen. So we've got to get behind them, because there's going to be times where we're just not going to pick up points, and then we're going to get little periods where, for instance, this chunk of games where we might pick up 9 points, 12 points. It swings and roundabouts the Championship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about momentum. The Sky Blues have got massive momentum going into the season. I think we can completely disregard, what's gone on during pre-season. I know a lot of fans have been quite vocal on Twitter around, worrying a little bit about squad depth at times, and who's going to be putting the goals, the ball in the back of the net. Just moving on to the end of the season, then, Dean. Obviously, April we saw that, and that looks, equally as problematic in terms of squad depth and the amount of fixtures that we'll have to play, but some friendlier for fixtures if there's in there.
Yeah, nice gap though between Wickham and Queen's Park Rangers over Easter. There's like a small 10-day, 12-day chunk of no games, and hopefully, I know I'm saying hopefully, but hopefully we will be at the cup at this point.
Yeah.
Or whatever cups are still being played at this period of time. But yeah, some friendly fixtures in here. QPR again. Barnsley at home, good record versus Barnsley. So those are 2 games we've got to pick up points. I mean, all home games you've got to be picking up points.
Of course, yeah, you've got to be making that. And the Sky Blues were, I think pretty good at St Andrews last season. They were comfortable. They played their football. Hopefully, when it does allow, we'll have some more supporters. But as some of the players on the podcast recently spoke, they did feel that St Andrews was a sort of happy ground for them. They were happy that fans were still out and supporting. They said that they're impressed with the amount of noise. Ultimately thinking that was going to be a lot lower at the start of the season. I think it was Morosi that touched on that. So it's going to be really important, isn't it, to make Birmingham. It's very difficult to make a ground that's not your own a fortress, but it's really going to have to be, for us in the Championship, a place of happy points, because otherwise we're going to really struggle, I think, on the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. We should be playing there, simple as that. But we have to make the best of what we've got, and I think the club did that quite well last year. They did sort of have things going on match days to make it feel like home. And it'll never be home, of course it won't. But
yeah,
we have to make the best of what we've got, really. And if we can make that some kind of fortress, as we like to call it, but we'll be fine. It's just, for me, if there's no fans in there, where does it matter where we play?
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with that, and we don't know how long that's going to be, but it does seem that there's going to be some support coming in around sort of October. It's been talked about, but away day support is where I think you look at St Andrews last season, and when Sunderland, of course, we beat them and we played really well, but that was when you really did feel outnumbered. And with
Absolutely,
championship teams, you could see that happening on a weekly basis, really. So it does look like away teams may not be able to have supporters at the grounds for perhaps majority of next season, which does really sound grim listening for our viewers out there. But it is seemingly the realization of what's happened during the COVID pandemic and the plans.
But that might work in our favour too.
Of course.
Because there's teams there that travel in such big numbers. You look
Yeah.
at Cardiff, your Swanseas, they
Yeah.
travel in massive numbers. Middlesbrough,
Yeah.
massive numbers, and they make a hell of a racket.
Yeah.
And
of course.
It's intense. Some of the chanting and the support they give is intense. It really is. So is that going to work in our favour? But then on the opposite side, what we give when we go to away matches is just another level. It's
Second to none.
unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
So it swings and roundabouts. We just don't know how it's going to be. But we'll just have to deal with it.
Wait and see. Exactly that. And we reached out to our Twitter followers, Dean, recently and asking them about the first 5 games. The big first 5, we called it, and very, very important. Just going from yourself, how many points do you think we'll pick up in that first 5 fixtures?
Well, just before, we'll look at the fixtures again, so get them on the screen. So, Bristol City away, probably none from there. QPR, Barnsley, I expect us to beat. Bournemouth and Brentford, probably not. So, for me, 5, maybe 6 points.
Yeah.
If we take 6 points out of those, that's a hell of a start.
Agreed.
Yeah,
And
we're playing two of the biggest clubs in the division in Bournemouth and Brentford, and Bristol City are no mugs. So if we can take 5 or 6, I'll be happy with that. What about you?
Yeah, I think very similar, really. I'm not sure we'll be able to pick up anything against Bristol City. I'd be hoping to get a draw at home, at the least against Queen's Park Rangers. You mentioned they're not the best of travellers. It's early on in the season. You never really know with them what's going to turn up. Barnsley away, we'd be expected to get some points from. So I'm hoping that we can get around sort of 5 points mark.
I mean, we're a good side. There's no two ways about it. We are a good side, and we play very different football now to how we played in the Championship. And I know the Championship's a different beast in the last 8 years since we left, but we are a good side. People will look at us and go, they're going to be tough to beat.
Exactly, and we did reach out, like we mentioned, to our Twitter followers. Let's just have a look at what some of you guys are saying about those 5 fixtures. Stuart Taylor seems to be the most optimistic of all, with 15 top of the pile, play up Sky Blues. Mike Hoban, similar to us, going for 5. You've got John Dawkins there that he says if you think you're getting 5 points from that, that looks good. 5 to 7 for Paul Reeder. He'd expect us to. He'd be surprised if we beat Bournemouth. They've lost players who and the new manager coming in. So he's expecting Bournemouth perhaps not to be as prolific as perhaps we were discussing earlier on.
He actually makes a really, really good point there, because it all depends on how their squad is. With the money that they owe, well, reportedly owe, they're gonna have to balance the books somehow. And I know they get parachute payments, but with potential pay freeze coming in and salary caps in the season after, you have to start looking at that now. So if they start looking at that and say we're 80 million in debt here, we're going to have to balance the books now to look ahead to the future. So yeah, I mean, both Paul and Alistair there both saying about Bournemouth could be in freefall. So that's a potential one. We could be looking at points, but it's still going to be tough.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you to our followers out there for sharing their thoughts with us. It's really easy to join in with the conversation, Dean, isn't it, with Sky Blues Extra? All you need to do is just use the hashtag Sky Blues Extra, and you can contact us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. We also reached out to our followers on Twitter this time round just about the fixtures they were maybe most looking forward to, the fixtures they were least looking forward to, and what they thought was going to be the hardest fixture of the season. For you, Dean, what would fall into those categories?
Sorry, I just flicked up the wrong screen there. Hardest fixtures: Bournemouth away, Brentford
Yeah,
away. Very very tough places to go, and Cardiff.
sure.
I've been to Cardiff 4 times, and I think I've probably seen us score 2 goals there and just be absolutely dominated every time we've been.
Yeah.
Um, we've never travelled there very well. So for me, yeah, them three are the standout.
Yeah, for me, the toughest and the one that I'd most like to go to would be Norwich. Haven't actually visited Norwich and would love to. Hopefully, COVID and whatnot permitting, that is an option.
I was actually a mascot at Norwich.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
FA Cup match, maybe
probably won't be
1999,
repeating
something
that
like
this
that.
season, Dean.
No, probably not a bit too big for that now. But yeah, like you said, that is a fantastic old ground, like
Yeah.
steeped in history.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yeah, really really good place to go. And don't forget we've got Hillsborough as well.
Yeah.
Iconic, absolutely iconic stadium to visit. I know Sheffield Wednesday not in the greatest state at the moment, starting with
Yeah.
12 points, but it's still a really really good place to go. So yeah, that's one you'd be looking forward to going to,
Yeah, I
and
think
hopefully we're allowed
least
in.
looking forward is an interesting one. A lot of people mention Wickham. We'll come on to some of our followers in a second, but just for myself, I think Rotherham is a place that I'm not sure I want to go back to for a little while. Having travelled up to
Bad
the
memories.
4-0 defeat that we had there in an otherwise a flawless season
Yeah,
last season. So just bringing up those guys' thoughts, Dean. We've got Jamie McAllister that said the toughest fixture would probably say Watford because they will have the strongest team in the league, in my opinion. He's least looking forward to Wickham, just because it's Wickham.
yeah.
And most looking forward to Bournemouth away. It's his birthday. It could be a jolly weekend away with the lads. Well, we hope that comes to fruition.
Just on
Martin is, sorry.
just on Jamie's point there about Watford having a strong team. They do have a really really strong team. You know, Sarr, Decore, Pereira, Delafeu. But are they going to go? These are Premier League class players, especially
Yeah,
Sarr,
yeah.
and Decore as well. For me, Decore is a really really good player. So there's potential they're not going to be there. And they've got the new manager now, Vladimir Icic, who has no experience in England, and the
Yeah,
Championship is a completely different beast to what he's faced in
it
the past.
really is. No, I agree. And Martin Coleman has put about the toughest away would be Brentford, and he's also said that the least fixture he's looking forward to is Norwich away. So it doesn't join my sentiments. And he's also most looking forward to any game that he can actually watch in person. So that pretty much concludes our fixture reaction. Dean, is there any sort of last thoughts you've got from yourself before we go off air?
I think from what I said previously, it's going to be a long season. There's going to be peaks and troughs the whole way through, and we've just got to stick behind them. I know we're not looking good in the state of injuries at the moment and stuff like that, but we've got some really really talented players, and I think it's important we don't get on their back, especially too early.
Yeah,
Forget League One.
it's gone.
That's
It
over
is a
now.
remarkable season, Dean. We were
Unbelievable, yeah.
incredible. The last few years we've really given the supporters something to shout about. But we're now back up. You only have to look, don't you, last season at the teams that were relegated from the Championship and the budgets that those guys had in comparisons to those that were fighting for promotion and the title. And that massive, huge gap is there to be seen for everyone in terms of wages. And you can punch above your weight, and we really hope the Sky Blues, but it is important to make out that it is a really difficult league, and it won't be helped, like we say, by some of the injuries that we've had at the start of pre-season. Jody Jones now looks to have, albeit a lesser small injury. You've got Julian Da Costa, of course. His looks
That's a blow.
quite bad, and that's a big blow. and probably won't be back before this time before Christmas, I would be saying. Really, it seems like it could be earlier than that, but we all know how these ligament injuries and how long they can take, and to get back up to fully match fitness, of course, as well. So it is going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's an absolute grind, the Championship, and no more so than this season. The fixture list is absolutely crammed. And for me, a blessing in disguise if we go out the cup early. I know we need the cash, but if we go out the cups early this season, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest. We're not going to win them, so I know the cash situation isn't great at the club, and we could do with the cash, but the prize funds are all down this year. They've all been reduced. So what's the point? Just thank God we don't have to play in that paint trophy anymore.
Yeah, that's well and truly gone, and we have been drawn already in the Carabao Cup, and like you mentioned, we're not sure what's going to be happening with the FA Cup fixtures, but a relentless Championship calendar, one that I can't wait personally to see get started. And I'm sure you're exactly the same, and I'm sure our Twitter and Instagram, Facebook followers that follow the page will join us throughout the season for what's going to be, an absolutely mouth-watering, an exciting campaign.